It's come down to this. The last round of the 2024 AFL season, as many as 9 teams, or if you want to put Collingwood in there, 10 teams, could still make the top 8. So we're going to go through and do the tips for the last round. Now, I know I haven't been doing this at all this year, so doing one round, why would you do one round? I think it's just going to be very interesting to see who I think will win this game and then see who makes the top 8 in what shapes and who plays who in the finals. So, without further ado, we'll get this started. So the first game we've got is Melbourne v Collingwood. That is Friday night footy, so the changes there. So Melbourne got Bailey Laurie in and Tom Sparrow is out. And for Collingwood, we've got Charlie Dean, Edward Allen, Philly McRae and Joe Richards all in. Frampton, Bartel, McStay and Lon all out. Now, the proposition here for Collingwood now, this is a very, very, very long chance of it because you clearly see in the Sportsbet Premiership winners, they don't even have an odd. So that's pretty much them saying that they've got no chance of winning whatsoever. But if you have a look, so this is what they've got to do. They obviously got to win this game tomorrow night. And the only way with the percentage that they've got, which you can see is 100.1%, they're about 10% or 10.5% behind Carlton. So what they have to do is make a percentage gap equivalent to 30 goals to pass Carlton. So essentially it's saying that Collingwood are going to win by, say, 20 goals, so over 120 points against Melbourne, and hope for the fact that Carlton will lose by 60 points against St Kilda to even get in. Is that possible? I don't think it's going to be. But if we go in, we'll do the tip for that one. So Melbourne beat Collingwood at the MCG. Now, this tip is actually interesting because Melbourne played well last week against Gold Coast and Collingwood found a way to win by a point against the Lions. So the MCG, I still think Melbourne, they've obviously got the players out. People elect to go surgery, Clayton Oliver being one of them. I think Collingwood will sneak this victory and we'll put a margin in, let's say about 10 points. So next we've got Geelong versus West Coast. This is at GMHBA Stadium in Geelong. Now West Coast are third to bottom and they cannot finish any higher or lower than 16th spot. As you can see, they're pretty much going to be there. Whereas Geelong on the ladder, they're in 4th at the moment. Now, there is absolute possibility that they can finish as high as 2nd, but if they lose, and obviously results go to hand, they could be as low as 8th. So, it's an important game for them in the last round. So, you have a look at what Geelong are going to do. They've got to win to clinch the top 4 spot, likely 4th, but they can catch GWS and could catch Port as well. So Cats are roughly 10 goals behind the Giants in percentage and 20 goals behind Port Adelaide. This game is a potential smashing looming, given that it is in Geelong and they play magnificently. Look at the odds, $1.04 to $10.50. I think that pretty much makes it clear who the red hot favourites. So Geelong will win this. I think that's going to be a bit of thrashing. I think we'll go around, let's go about the 80-point mark, which I think is about there. So I think Geelong will win this quite comfortably. Richmond and Gold Coast is the next game being played. Now, pretty much this doesn't mean anything to either team. Richmond pretty much going to be bottom. The potential thing is they may not finish wooden spoon if they get a massive win, whereas Gold Coast potentially could go up to finishing 12th spot, but not going to finish any lower than 14, so this one's pretty much a pointless game, no offense to both the teams. But it gets a bit of pride to play for both sides. Now, this game has been played at the MCG on a Saturday. Now, I believe Gold Coast should sneak this victory. So I think they'll get this, maybe a close one like that. So yeah, Gold Coast will win this one for me. So next we've got the Hawks and North Melbourne. Now, we know Hawthorn have got a bit to play for. They are currently in the 8th. So they've got a chance to go up the ladder. Whereas North Melbourne are pretty much out of it. As long as they don't get absolutely slaughtered, Richmond win, I would say they would probably finish second to bottom on the ladder. So basically for Hawthorn, so it's a chance just to sneak into the finals. They can finish high as 4th, but realistically they'll finish 5th, 6th, and 7th with a win. Now if you have a look, if they lose, they could actually fall at the 8th if Carlton and Fremantle win. Now if you look at the ladder, as you see they are currently in 7th. Now they can get as high as 4th, but they're going to rely on essentially Geelong, Brisbane and the Bulldogs all losing their games, which seems pretty unlikely as we said about the Geelong tip, but they can be out of finals. But I believe they will win this game. It is against North Melbourne, and this has been played down at Tassie, so this will be good at Launceston. So I believe the Hawks will win this game. I think they'll win quite comfortably. I think we'll go for a very solid. We'll go for a very solid, if I can book it right, They're a solid 70-point margin, I'd say, for that. The next game, we've got Brisbane and Essendon at the Gabba. So we've got Connor McKenna and Noah Ainsworth all in, and Starcevich and Brain out. Dyson Apple back in for his last game for the Bombers. He's in, and Guelphy in too, with Sam Wimmer and Jai Menzies out. So a bit to play for the Lions. They are in 5th spot at this moment. Now, the highest they can finish is 4th. If they win and Geelong lose, they can make that. If they lose, now, it's very unlikely they'll be out of the 8th with it. But as you can see here, they can realistically drop as low as 8th with a loss. You can technically miss the 8 with percentage, but extremely unlikely, given that Fremantle will have to smash Port Adelaide and Brisbane are going to get smashed by Essendon, which is very unlikely. Definitely impossible in my point of view, because I believe Brisbane will win this game at the Gabba. I think we'll look at this to be a solid 40-point margin for them, so they'll beat the Bombers there. Next, we've got the Sydney Swans taking on the Adelaide Crows. This is at the SCG. Now, there were talks about Sydney should be resting some of their players, but if you go by one of the changes, they're definitely not doing that. They've got Aaron Francis in for Tom McCartan. That's probably one of them they have decided to rest. And Chad Warner, who's been an absolute star for him this year, he's actually back in. And his brother has actually been dropped instead for him. So, just get one more in, one more out. And then for the Crows, you've got Borlase, Chase Jones, Tex Walker, and Billy Dowling all back in. And Mark Keane out, Isaac Rankin is out, Lockie Gallant, and Joshua Shelley being dropped. Sydney pretty much guaranteed first spot, unless the Crows win by 150 plus points. I don't think we've seen a 150 point plus game this year, so I don't think it's going to happen. And then as the Crows, they have guaranteed 4th bottom, so they won't be able to move up and down from that. So not too much to say about that. I'm going to say that Sydney will win, but I don't think this will be a tighter contest than what people would think. So I reckon a 10-point margin for the Swans. This is where it gets interesting. The Sunday games is Western Bulldogs versus GWS. Now, this is playing in Ballarat. Now, the last time they played in Ballarat, the Giants actually beat them. So this was last year. So this game for me feels like a 50-50. Now, they are extended squads. You've got Tim English is back, which is a good conclusion for them. You've got Garcia, Jones, and Poulter, whereas Riley West is out. And for the Giants, you've got Callum Brown back into the squad, O'Halloran, Harvey Thomas, Nick Haynes, and Lockie Ash is out. It's suspended. So it's going to be a very good game, this one. Good way to start a Sunday game. Now, we have a look at what can happen. So if the Bulldogs win this game, they pretty much guaranteed a final spot. They're pretty much going to be in the top 8. They can finish as high as 4th if Geelong and Brisbane lose. Gone by my tips, I'd say no. More likely to clinch 6th, according to this. But they can miss the finals if they lose if Hawthorn come for a win. Now, the Giants, they're currently in the top 4 at the moment. If they lose and Geelong make up its end goal percentage, so they can finish, they're currently 3rd at the moment. They could finish as low as 4th if Geelong come out with a 10-goal win against them. Or if Geelong come out with a 10-goal win in their game. So they could jump the Giants if they do lose. But for them, they are really guaranteed top 4. So they can only finish as low as 4th. But they can finish as high as 2nd spot if they win. They'll have to get a decent percentage win because they are about 3%. It's about 3% difference. It's not as big, but still need to get a big win on the board, which is actually a possibility against the Bulldogs. Now, this one's a very tricky tip because the Giants have been very good at that spot, but I'm going to go with the Bulldogs given their Ballarat. They normally do play well there, but the Giants have as well. I'm going to make this a really close game, I think. Next game, we've got Carlton versus St Kilda. Now, Carlton are in 8th spot. If they win, they're pretty much guaranteed the final spot. If they lose, doesn't necessarily mean they're out, but you have to rely on a team to beat them, which is Port Adelaide beating Fremantle to make sure they're still in. Now, if you have a look at the changes, good hits for Carlton. Adam Sard and Charlie Curto, the 2 players I'm looking at, back in the side, and judging by the fact they're on the field, they'll both be guaranteed ins, and Orazio Fantasia could be a nice handy inclusion too. Whereas for the Saints, we've got Philippou, we've got Jack Hayes and Campbell and McLennan in, and Caminetti is out. As we said, Carlton in 8th spot at the moment. They can jump, potentially could jump as high as 4th if all the teams above them, Geelong, Brisbane Bulldogs and Hawthorn all lose. But they may not make finals if they lose and Fremantle find a way to beat Port Adelaide. Now, as for the Saints, the thing that they can do, they could potentially jump up to 12, but they can't finish. But they can go as low as 14. Now, after what St Kilda did against against Geelong last week, I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to miraculously beat Carlton. But I'm just going to go with the fact that I think Carlton have got that to play for and they'll win this game. I think I'll put it about 20 points, so I think they'll get that victory. Last game of the home away season, it's Fremantle taking on Port Adelaide at Optus Stadium in Perth. Fremantle, this is essentially elimination final for them. If they win, and obviously relying on other results, they can make finals. They're currently in 9th at the moment, and if they lose, they're much out. Whereas Port Adelaide, they're currently 2nd. If they win, and still have a better percentage than the Giants, which they are 3% ahead of them, they will guarantee themselves a home qualifying final, but if they lose, they could go down as low as 4th. Really rely on the fact that, as we've said earlier in the video, that Geelong have to come out and absolutely smash West Coast and Port to lose by a little bit, as you see on the ladder. So yeah, only can finish between 2nd, 3rd and 4th for Port Adelaide. Now, I think because of the way that this is going to be, elimination final for the Dockers, I believe they'll come out and actually win this game. Being in Perth, they've done all right there, so I think they'll win, but this will be a pretty tight game. So I'm going to go with the Dockers for this one. So if we have a look at the final ladder, if we go by my tipping, we see Sydney on top. Now, this is the reason why. Now, there's a reason why I did margins, because I wanted to play the percentage part to see who makes it in. So if we have a look at this ladder, so we've got Sydney on top of the ladder. They'll finish on top, they're top expected. Port, and now there's actually 3 teams that are on 60 points. Port Adelaide, Geelong, and the Giants. Now, Port, I've got 2nd because I reckon they'll only just lose, and Geelong will smash them, but his percentage really close. And the Giants in 4th spot, which percentage-wise, just missing out 3rd spot. And then you've got Brisbane in 5th, which I expect to happen. And then you've got Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn and Carlton, so they haven't really changed. And the Dockers just missing out. Let me know what your tips would be for this week. It's going to be so exciting. Anything can really happen with pretty much all these games. But I think the Sunday games are going to be the big ones here. That will definitely tell who's going to make what position, who's going to make finals. It's going to be very exciting. So let me know if you agree with me or you disagree with me. And stay tuned because there'll still be some reaction videos and we'll be doing some tipping throughout the finals as well. So we'll go through each game when the finals start, and that way we can go through and see who will win the 2024 AFL Premiership. But until then, bye for now.